Have you ever noticed or wondered why a huge chunk of France is so empty? This area, known as the empty diagonal, or as it's known in French, the Diagonale du Vide, is a low-density population band that stretches from the French department of the Landes in the southwest all the way up to the Meuse in the northeast. Despite its name, the empty diagonal isn't a barren land. It's a region with a unique story shaped by historical, economic, and demographic factors. It reveals a distinct portrait of the urban-rural divide in France, one that's been debated in literature and travel accounts. While the term might evoke imaginary desolate landscapes, that's far from reality. The empty diagonal is home to a unique blend of natural beauty, from the wilderness of the Massif Central to the quaint rural department of the Creuse. Yes, it can't be denied that these regions are characterized by lower population densities compared to the rest of France. The reasons for this are historical, dating back to the mid-19th century and linked to factors like industrialization, urbanization, and the gravitational pull of Paris. But before we go into the full story, click that like and subscribe button and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest videos. This channel will keep you updated on the most intriguing videos on economic topics around the world. Diving into the historical roots of the empty diagonal, we find that the phenomenon was initially identified by Charles Dupont in 1837. Before this concept emerged, a demographic feature known as the Saint-Malo-Geneva line divided industrialized northeast from the agricultural southwest in France. This changed drastically from the mid-19th century, with industrialization and urbanization taking a firm hold. This marked the beginning of what's known as the rural exodus, where people began to move in large numbers from the countryside to urban centers. Low fertility rates in rural areas also contributed to this demographic shift. But what catalyzed these processes? Well, in a word, Paris. The capital city, with its allure and promise of opportunity, started attracting talent, capital, and people like no other European capital. In a sense, Paris started behaving not as a metropolis invigorating its hinterland, but as a monopolist, consuming the essence of the nation. This trend began during the reign of Louis XIV, who consciously brought in ambitious elites from all over the country to his grand residence at Versailles, just outside Paris. And this attraction did not wane after the French Revolution. In fact, it was magnified, with Paris becoming an essential showcase of France's power and prestige. This led to considerable migration to Paris, initially most from within France itself, with the capital city's population in 1920 composed of just 39% natives. So what does the empty diagonal look like today? The diagonal's population density is around or below 30 inhabitants per square kilometre. In comparison, the entire country of France averages 119 people per square kilometre, and Paris has about 20,000 people per square kilometre. With that said, it is far from lifeless. Behind the statistics and studies, there are stories of real people who have chosen to live, work, and build their lives in these regions. Take the story of Caroline Meyer, for example. Against the trend of urban migration, Caroline made the conscious choice to give birth in the district of Lozère, one of the least populated areas within the diagonal. Despite the lack of amenities and services that are readily available in more urban areas, Caroline's story reflects a different perspective, the desire for tranquility, space, and a connection with nature that is harder to find in bustling cities. But life in the empty diagonal does not come without its challenges. The low population density means fewer public services like hospitals, schools, and the scarcity of public transport, making commuting a significant issue. It can also mean fewer job opportunities, which can make it difficult for younger generations to envision a future here. Yet, in the face of these challenges, the people of the empty diagonal have proven resilient and creative. Some have turned to innovative business models like ecotourism or artisanal craft industries to stimulate local economies. Others have leveraged the peace and tranquility that the region offers, attracting people looking to escape the rush of city life. There are those who have chosen this life precisely for these qualities: a sense of community, a slower pace of life, a close connection to the natural world. Moreover, living in the empty diagonal allows for an intimate connection with the history and culture of France, away from the common narratives dominated by the hustle and bustle of places like Paris. It's a testament to the diversity and richness of the French cultural landscape, from the rolling hills of the Meuse to the forests of the Landes. So, although the empty diagonal may appear empty on the map, for its inhabitants it's filled with life, stories, and experiences that are just as valid and enriching as those in France's more populated regions. The empty diagonal is a testament to the beauty of diversity and difference within our shared human experience. But here's where it gets interesting. There's a debate over whether empty diagonal is the appropriate term. Some commentators argue that the term empty is pejorative and exaggerated, instead advocating for the term low-density diagonal. The notion of emptiness can imply desolation or lack of value, while the reality is that these regions, although sparse, have their unique charm and importance. The question then arises, is the concept of empty diagonal still valid in the 21st century? According to French historians Hervé Lebrun and Emmanuel Todd, the concept may no longer hold water due to observed growth in some departments like Indre and Gers. Their analysis suggests that the areas of negligible or negative population growth are now primarily concentrated from the Massif Central to Lorraine. However, other analysis at the level of cantons and communes show the zone of decline extending beyond this axis, hinting that the situation might be more complex than initially thought. But here's the catch: the growth observed in some areas is largely driven by a temporary influx of retirees. This presents a nuanced picture of the empty diagonal's population dynamics. It's not an outright revival of population growth, but more of a fragile, transient shift. Moreover, recent census data indicates that despite the overall growth of the French population, this growth is not evenly distributed. Certain regions within the empty diagonal are not experiencing population growth at all, and are continuing to lose population. So what might the future hold for this region? Several trends could reshape it in the coming years. First, let's consider the impact of remote work. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown us that many jobs can be done from anywhere with an internet connection. This could potentially lead to an influx of remote workers seeking peace and tranquility away from crowded cities, breathing new life into these areas. Second, we need to consider the retirement patterns. The empty diagonal, with its slower pace of life and natural beauty, can be an attractive destination for those seeking a peaceful retirement. An influx of retirees could bring an economic boost and contribute to a modest population increase. Finally, lifestyle preferences are shifting. As people increasingly value work-life balance and closeness to nature, regions like empty diagonal could see a resurgence of interest. People are beginning to recognize the value of space, tranquility, and a slower pace of life, all of which the empty diagonal can offer in abundance. In summary, the empty diagonal presents a complex and evolving landscape of population dynamics. While the term may be contentious and while certain areas are seeing a degree of population growth, it remains true that a significant portion of this diagonal band in France continues to be characterized by low density and population decline. The story of the empty diagonal is an ongoing narrative, one that reflects the broader interplay of social, economic and demographic trends at play in France and indeed in many parts of the world. What are your thoughts on this unique story in one of the most beautiful countries in the world? Do you see other potential thoughts on stories that we didn't cover? Please leave your comments below and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.